First of all, we've got Ali, who's the managing director of the Third Generation Project. Ali, I'm going to hand over to you for you to talk us through what you've been doing.
Thank you, and thanks Claire as well for giving the Third Generation Project the chance to talk about what we're doing. I'm going to take you through the lines of our programming this morning as it currently stands, and a little bit of background about how we do what we do and why we do what we do. But of course, I'm very happy to take any questions that you have as well. So I'll just get the slides up. So yeah, as Claire said, I'm the managing director of the Third Generation Project, which is a think tank based at the University of St Andrews. And basically, just to give you a little bit of background on it in terms of how we sit here, we're the university's first think tank, and we're based in the School of International Relations. And basically what we do, we look at the human rights implications of climate change in terms both of the causes of climate change and the impact that it has. And I should say, the reason, very briefly, that we started the think tank, it was co-founded with my colleague Bennett Collins. We started it because we were doing a lot of community-based and collaborative research, but we actually wanted something that was much more akin to action research, and that really would, generate critical research that also had a significant impact and engagement, and had that really as the priority. But more than that as well, we wanted our priorities to reflect the concerns of communities and peoples. And we've been going since about 2016, and basically what we do is design projects that educate for change and social change. And I just want you to take you through our 3 lines of programming. So yeah, so basically we're the university's first think tank based in the School of IR, focused on human rights implications. We're community oriented and collaborative. We're very much focused on the priorities and concerns of communities and peoples, and we design projects that educate for social change. And I'll take you just very briefly through our 3 strands of programming. So on the next slide, one of the major things we're doing at the moment is a project called Breaking the Fourth Wall of Climate Migration, which is bringing collaborative narrative production into Scottish classrooms. And if you look on the next slide, what this is a project that is funded by National Geographic and the Global Challenges Research Fund. And basically we have been given money to, we felt that the views that there were about the refugee crisis, for example, views about climate change didn't really consider what was happening to human rights as a result, and that actually there's a link between the refugee crisis and climate change. And so National Geographic have this programme called Documenting Human Migration, and we were lucky to receive funding from that. And basically what we're doing, we're focusing on Somaliland and Kenya. We have a team of academics, journalists from both within country and out with as well, and we have community organisers. And what we're doing is we've collected multimedia materials in Somaliland and Kenya that basically give the stories behind migration and what impact climate change is having on individuals in those communities. The multimedia materials are, we have films, we have photos, we have audio, we have interviews that cover a range, whether from children and youth that have been impacted by climate change. We have family members of people who've made the crossing. We have social workers. We have policymakers. We have the head of UNHCR camp in Kakuma as well. So all of those multimedia materials were basically we've collated, and we're now at the position we've taken them back to Scotland and are now in the process of taking them into Scottish classrooms, with this idea that education is this essential element of the global response to climate change. And what we're in 3 tester Scottish schools in Fife at the moment, and basically they are there'll be 6 weeks of workshops that will start in the beginning of November, and that will teach and work with kids in those schools to learn how to construct narratives, the power of narratives, to basically then construct their own narratives around documenting human migration using the stories that we've collected. And I think really for us the important thing is as well that there's accountability in that relationship. So the kids will also be sharing those narratives back once they've finished them with the communities in Somaliland and Kenya, that they themselves can potentially use them for their own raising awareness of what's happened to their communities. So we have a big then education impact hopefully with that. The next thing the next strand of our programming, if we move on, is what's called the Emerging Researchers Programme, and it is based within the university, and it's really an alternative to standard internship programs. What we really felt was that we wanted, and you'll see in the next slide, that we wanted to turn out and educate the next generation of critical researchers. So we're basically educating a small number of St Andrews students in critical research skills that are really vital to our overall approach. They're taught by a range of researchers from outside IR during one semester. They then have to do field work, write a critical essay, they're vivaed, and if they pass that programme and if they graduate that programme, they're then able to use those skills to focus on their interests, supervised and supported by TGP staff. And so we've just had our first cohort graduate. They've just started their programmes, and it's already being called by those students a university within a university. And Juanita, one of our researchers, gave us this quote to use more publicly, that TGP provides a great opportunity to understand the world in continuous transformation, not only through a collective platform of shared knowledges, but also by listening to those who embody the experience through their daily lives. So I mean, really for us, this notion of community-led, or at the very least community-informed research is crucial. So, and it's a second part of our education stream. And just then very briefly, our third strand of programming, which you'll see in the next slide, is a very new one. It's called Red Light. And basically what Red Light does, as you'll see just very briefly introduced in the slide after that one, it's effectively like old style investigative journalism. It involves a special investigation spearheaded by TGP researchers over a large period of time that will result in, at first, a yearly white paper that outlines TGP research findings and educates policymakers and the wider public about a specific issue. And importantly as well, we want to be able to offer research services to organisations who can't afford to do their own research, but would like in-depth research, so that we're partnering using our skills and the access that we have to disseminate research findings, to actually see if we can leverage some of the issues that more community-based organisations are dealing with. And so where that is at the moment, we're currently bringing our team together for the first of those, and that is my 10 minutes. So thank you.
Scott, if you're happy, we'll move straight on to you, I think. I don't think there's any questions there. So if you'd like to share your screen.
You see that? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Can you hear me okay? Good.
Yeah.
To talk about the programme that we have going on here at Strathclyde called VIP for Sustainable Development. The VIP acronym stands for Vertically Integrated Projects, which hopefully will become apparent very shortly as to why we've called it that. Oh. Okay, so I suppose the headline slide I'll start off with here is that we're told that by 2025 we could have more than 260 million students in further and higher education. So I suppose if we think about these students as a potential research resource, and if we can mobilise them, given the kind of unique access that we have to them in the higher education and further education sectors, if we can mobilise them the right way and support them, then they have the potential to make quite a significant impact on Agenda 2030 now, rather than waiting till they've graduated and they're 5 or 10 years into their career. So that's what we are planning to do through the VIP for Sustainable Development programme, as well as offer our students the opportunity to develop different competencies in and around the area of research-based education. So I think this is quite a good a kind of quote, I think, and it comes from Monash University, who really said that, universities can harness the unique access to these large concentrations of young people to make that contribution to the SDGs because they're creative, they're energetic, they're idealistic, they're looking for challenges, they want to make meaningful contributions to global society, and they're optimistic. So I think that we should be doing everything we can to work in partnership with them and allow them to work in partnership with us as researchers and educators to try and deliver that impact. So I guess that's the question that we've asked ourselves here at Strathclyde, is how can we best do that? And the VIP for Sustainable Development programme is our attempt to achieve that, to provide that platform for our students. So this is another quote again from a policy document that came out last year in relation to education for sustainable development. And again, what it's really saying is that if we're going to try and promote this ESD in our curricula, then I suppose we want to do it in a way that we're going to stimulate our students to ask questions, be analytical, think critically, make decisions, collaborate with each other, interact, more action-based and problem-based education. And I think the way we've decided to try and embed ESD within our curricula across all of our faculties is through this research-based education approach, which really, it comes from the kind of work really done by Mike Healy and Alan Jenkins. This document here, if anybody's read it, tries to really kind of try and categorise different forms of research-based curricula. And we would suggest that we're targeting this kind of upper right-hand quadrant here. We're trying to engage our students in inquiry-based learning with a focus on sustainable development. So in doing that, we're trying to encourage our students to become less knowledge consumers and more knowledge producers. So kind of flipping the roles there, if you like, to some extent. And we're trying to kind of blur the lines between research and education, find that nexus that exists between these two streams within our university. And this allows us to use the students as a very valuable research resource and give our students the opportunity to work with very experienced researchers and learn more about probably what it's going to be like when they leave university and they go into the either industry or commerce or wherever they happen to go the kind of skills that are going to be important to them then. So it's horizontally integrated, the programme, and by that what we mean is that it's across all faculties, so it's interdisciplinary, it's collaborative. We're encouraging research groups to form that involve not just engineers or scientists exclusively, but it could be a broad range of disciplines from any of the departments across institution. And it's vertically integrated. So what we mean by that is this gives students the opportunity to come in either year 1 or year 2 and remain involved in that research project throughout their academic career. So as you'll know, if you're an academic and you've run project-based work for students or assignments, typically or traditionally that covers a semester or 2. The student then writes up the report, it's assessed, and then it's stuck on a shelf somewhere. So this gives our students the chance to really gain some momentum, develop a deeper level of expertise in a particular domain, and to work alongside and build relationships with research staff in the process. And this approach allows us to take a longer term view of the kind of projects that we instigate, so we can tackle quite bold and ambitious research projects. So one of our projects, for example, is drug discovery, and the students there, biologists, mathematicians, engineers, are developing techniques that will help us identify new antibiotics going forward. So quite grand, ambitious challenges, and each of these projects targets a specific SDG. And the model itself, VIP, came from Georgia Institute of Technology. This is Professor Ed Coyle who basically developed this and promoted it. And they have in the region of 1,100 students and 80 VIP projects across their institution. There is a much wider VIP consortium, so it's quite a big universe. Many of them come from the States. There is an increasing presence in Europe. Strathclyde, I'm pleased to say, was the first European site. And we are the only ones to date who have aligned our VIP with the Sustainable Development Goals, because we see this as an ideal vehicle to introduce education for sustainable development, combine it with research-based education to give us research-based education for sustainable development. So the VIP model itself is really just a means to an end. It's a mechanism that we are using to allow us to embed education for sustainable development in our curricula in a way that we think can really engage our students and get the best out of them, and give them the best opportunities to continue contributing to that area when they leave university. And it will develop many of these competencies in the process, competencies that have been identified as being important in achieving SDGs, but I think these are competencies that are just important for any graduate leaving university and going into employment. So these are the kind of things that employers are looking for from our graduates. So what we're really trying to do is what Jonathan Porritt has suggested we try and do, which is try and prepare our students for the world of work by tackling the work of the world, essentially. And we have a few projects. We have 13 now in place. We have over 200 students. Our aim over the next 3 to 5 years is to grow that in line with Georgia Tech, so up towards the 1,200 mark. One of these projects, to give you an idea, is one that I lead myself. It's Energy for Development, and we have linked that with outreach also. So we have a project that pre-existed this VIP project, which is really focused on SDG7, providing universal access for all. And we have another project called the Gambia Solar Project, where we've been taking our engineering students to install PV, off-grid PV, in remote rural schools across the Gambia. We've installed 12 to date over the past 10 years. And this has become something of a bit of a living lab for us as well, where our students working on their research over the course of the year are able to deploy their solutions in these communities, and also engage with the communities to understand exactly what makes an appropriate energy solution, which I think is very important for our engineering students to appreciate that. Yeah, so that's really the very well-structured, wicked problem that we pose our students when they get involved in this particular VIP project. There are over 1 billion people without electricity in the world. You are electrical engineering students. What can you do now by way of a contribution towards this SDG? So I'll just flick through some of these. So here's some of the pictures of some of our students getting their hands dirty, making a difference in some of the schools in the Gambia. And you can see the multidisciplinarity here as well. We've got students from our electrical and mechanical engineering degree, design manufacturing engineering management, the Strathclyde Business School, computer electronic systems, and we've got PhD students involved as well, all working together on very focused pieces of research and outreach. And that's from our trip this year. And you can see the kind of impact that it has on our students. Some of the quotes that they've given. The one I particularly like is this one. Yeah, this here. Yeah, so this is Callum here on the left. Really just the impact, you know, really expressing the impact of being involved in VIP and getting the opportunity to work in country with the community, delivering solutions in country, and what it means to him as an engineer to be able to see the impact of his effort, because often as engineers we're quite far removed from that. So we feel that it kind of ticks the boxes of student experience, teaching and research, and blending those together, and obviously delivering impact. We also have a student conference every year where we have academics from various universities from the consortium. So we had New York University, Georgia Tech, Malmo, Latvia, all join us last year, and our students get the opportunity to showcase their research at the conference. So there's some pictures from last year's conference in the Technology and Innovation Centre building. And this year there will be local, there will be a competition, in fact. So each of the sites will have a conference. The students will deliver their projects through Pecha Kucha style presentations, and then these will eventually go through different qualifying rounds until a global conference that will be held in Atlanta this year. There have been some challenges along the way. We still face challenges in trying to scale up this initiative, but we have the support from our senior officers here in the university, which has been critical. There are challenges around academic regulations in terms of finding that vertically integrated pathway, degree accreditation requirements, ensuring that you satisfy those as well, staff engagement, and ensuring that their involvement in these programs is acknowledged in their teaching duties and their workload model. Student recruitment has been less of an issue, as you would imagine. Students are very keen to get involved in this type of student experience. So our vision really is to try and spread the word and try and encourage other higher education institutions to partner with us in this way. So we've delivered our vision for VIP to the VIP consortium, and many of the existing members are very interested in aligning the VIP with the SDGs. And we've also reached out to networks like EAUC, Learning for Sustainability Scotland, and others, and we're really just keen to try and work with and support any other like-minded institutions in following us in this programme. We've actually spoken with St Andrews, and St Andrews have a VIP working group set up with a view to starting up their own VIP programme in the very near future, perhaps even this academic year, I'm not entirely sure. And we've also been speaking with the University of Bath, Nottingham, some others in the UK. So really in terms of partnership, it's about working in partnership with our students to provide them with that platform to make impact now, and also work in partnership as a sector to try and leverage that very enthusiastic and capable resource that exists, that is ready to make that impact now. So I'm happy to take any questions.
Great. Does anyone have any questions for Scott? Again, type them into the box, the chat box, or just pop your hand up just if there are any questions. Again, we can pass any questions on, but just give you a minute to just think about if anyone has anything for Scott. Great to see that partnership working within Scotland and across the UK, but internationally, Scott. So that's a fabulous initiative. Just a quick question from me. How long has it actually taken to set this up? Obviously, you've been kind of running it a long time. When did you start it, and how long has it kind of taken to get to this stage?
So we started in 2012 is when we brought the VIP model to Strathclyde, and obviously that predated the SDGs. So at that time, it didn't have any SDG focus or even sustainable development focus at all. And we ran it basically as a pilot with some willing volunteers, essentially, some academics who were quite convinced that this could be a very valuable research resource that they could use. And we ran it as a pilot for a few years. And then in 2016, as we became increasingly interested in trying to embed education for sustainable development into a curricula, we saw that opportunity to bring them both together. So at that point, I think things started to take off a bit. And then probably within the last year, we've effectively been given a mandate from our senior officers to try and scale up the programme. So at present, we are in a position where all of our departments across all of our faculties have been tasked with identifying the VIP pathway that exists within their existing degree offerings. And the reality is that in some cases, there isn't a fully integrated pathway. There may be interruptions in certain years that we are hopeful that, with curriculum reviews and such like in the future, we can then start to accommodate VIP there. But I think there's definitely a kind of willingness, as I say, from the kind of higher echelons of the university to try and make sure that this is something that succeeds. Because as I say, I think it's quite an innovative way to engage undergraduate students in the SDGs, rather than just the kind of traditional lecture-based, module-based type of learning. This is actually allowing them to kind of find their own direction in terms of how they want to make a contribution to the SDGs.
Great. Quick one from Ali. Ali, do you want to just ask that?
Yeah, I mean, I was just wondering, it's so interesting, and actually I'm going to a session next week, Scott, as well, about VIPs. You're mentioning
Okay.
I was just wondering how, as well, you manage the sort of relationships with the communities that you're working with. Like, could they come to you and say, oh, actually, there's something that we really need. Is there somebody there that could do it for us?
Just very quickly, Scott, because we are out of time, so you've got a minute to answer that. Yeah,
so many of the communities that we are in contact with, Ali, are through our research projects. So we have quite a good in-country presence there, whether that be kind of Indigenous people or whether it be academics from Strathclyde who are located there. And that's the way we kind of manage that relationship. But it does give us the opportunity to give our students the chance to travel to some of these countries, Malawi and Gambia and South India and such like, and experience firsthand the kind of difficulties that they experience. And I think as well also understand that a technical solution that works here might not necessarily be a technical solution that works everywhere. There's been lots of clean cooking initiatives that are scientifically sound, but they've not really taken into consideration some of the cultural and social sensitivities of the communities. And I think it's really useful for our engineers to understand that that's as important as the maths and science when it comes to developing appropriate technology solutions.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Right, that's all we have time for today, I'm afraid. Thank you both, a really big thank you for those really interesting projects. Hopefully we'll be hearing much more about those in the future.